Oh, all right, man. Fucking A. Let's get into the fishing take, which is
Yes.
going to be, in my opinion, putting a bow on the ice season.
Hell yeah. I'm ready to put a bow on it, man. This-
Yes, in the past we've been doing this for over a year now, and in the past it's been, well, we'll talk about spring and stuff like that. It's like, you know what we never have done, never did do, never put a bow on that ice season. And
yeah.
holy shit, my family took a vacation to Florida at the beginning of March, and the weather was turning then, and it was nice when we got back. It was decent when we got back. It was cold as fuck when we got back, but very, very quickly, within like 2 days, it was like, 60-degree swing, and we were damn near
hmm
70 when we got here. It was like when we landed, it was like 2. So,
Right. Right.
however math works out, don't at me, internet. But the point that I'm trying to get to is we came from warm, it got warm, we got that taste of spring, and it was like, oh shit, here we go.
Yep.
And it's fucking snowing 3 out of 5 days this week.
Dude, it's horseshit. And it's super
Because we
windy today
record this the
too.
week before the podcast drops on Monday.
Yep.
And seriously, the week before the podcast drops, snow like 3 out of 5 days.
Garbage ass weather. Just like, what is this? And it's like just above freezing. It's like
Yep.
36 every day. You're like, what the fuck, dude? This is stupid. All I want is the ice to go away. And the weather's just like, I got it warm enough to melt like the first 20 feet. And then I said, fuck you. You're not getting any more.
There's still this, unless it's a really small pond, there's just like this thin film almost over, but thick enough to be in the way and look like ice and know that it's ice, but not
Yeah.
thin enough to like break through with a stick.
Right. Yeah.
It's all fucked up.
Is horseshit. There's some lakes that I've seen where like half of the lake is open. I only around here, like when I drive to my work, I see some lakes on the road, and some
Sure.
are like half open, and some are like just a little bit. And it seems like the ones that are more like the wind is being able to hit them are more open.
Yeah, that's what I was
But
gonna
it's
say. Is it the
still
wind that's doing that? It is,
for
isn't it?
sure, yeah.
Yeah.
The wind can really fuck some shit up, dude. This time of year.
Yeah.
If nobody knows, if you're from a different state that doesn't have ice, or even if you're just not around a lake and you're not aware, like go look up like move. I don't know even what you would Google, like moving ice shelf on Lake
Oh.
Mille Lacs. Mille Lacs is intense
Mhm.
because it'll freeze over and stuff, and the ice starts moving, and the edges get melted out.
Yeah.
And then the wind gets it all moving. And those shelves are so damn heavy that when it gets moving, nothing stops it.
Yep.
On Mille Lacs, that ice is like pushing houses off of foundations and shit. Like
Oh yeah.
it's nuts. And
It buckles in on itself and just it
yeah,
fucking makes these like razor edges, dude. It's
it'll
gnarly.
push up the shorelines. That's what it does most of the time. Is it gets into the
Oh
shore
yeah.
because it's at like the water level.
Yeah.
And then the shorelines are never, right level with it. That'd be
Right.
like as soon as it rained, everybody would be flooded. But it goes like straight up and just fucks everything up. And
Yeah.
on Chaminade, because of the flooding that they had on there when it froze and like the ice shelf moved and stuff, there was one of those houses that was just like shit went right through the front of it. Like the front end of
Yeah.
the house is just gone.
Like it literally tore down the house.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
You could be
I mean, not the
fishing.
entire thing, but like you might as
Yeah.
well have driven a car through a corner of
Yeah.
it.
You could fish from the living room.
You could see their couch and their TV that gets PBS.
Yes. Yeah, because that's it.
Right. Yeah, it's fucking crazy what the ice does. And
Yep.
if to let's roll with stories already, because in episode 40 we started to tease because that was our bait shop episode, and I started to tease and it got too long, and I was like, we gotta cut this out, but don't worry, we're gonna come back. So if you haven't heard episode 40, stop here, go back, listen to episode 40, and then come back here to episode 42
Yeah.
around the 15-ish 16-minute mark or whatever, and continue listening because
Yeah.
Tim's got bait stories and bait shop stories, and they specifically happened while ice fishing. Did you say you had more than
Yes.
one on episode 40?
I ran into some weird shit at bait shops, but it was just this one that I like real fresh in my mind where
Okay, yeah.
I think
Like,
I
you have
had
to tell this one for sure, the one that you told me,
yeah.
that one that I was there to experience secondhand almost
So
immediately.
it was I think I might have referenced that it's been more than one time this year where I've had people tell me to just go get my own bait, which I've never had
Oh,
before, where you're like, "Oh, I
right,
need a
right,
scoop of minnows." And then they're just like, "All right, minnows are over there." And you're like, "What? I just go scoop them myself?"
right, okay,
But
I
like
could see that
I
being the
totally
case.
understand how to do this, but I've never done this before. Like you guys are pretty trusting. I'm not going to take more than I need because what the fuck's the point? But so the guy, I go in first and I didn't have a bucket. I'm looking for a bucket, and the only thing that he's got is like the nice, like aerated, like super expensive bucket. So I'm like, shit, I'm not going to buy that. And I'm looking around.
Aerated
He's like
aerated
the
meaning, like, it has a bubbler in it?
yeah, yep. I have
Oh,
one. I just
Jesus.
forgot to bring it with.
Right, okay,
Yeah, so it's a very handy thing to have when you're ice fishing and stuff because it
for sure.
keeps the water from freezing too.
Oh, good point.
So when you keep the water moving, it's all good. Plus the aeration and stuff. And um, two,
Mhm.
right? That
Yeah,
was his name. I was trying
yeah.
to think of it. I
Oh,
didn't
yeah,
want to. My mind was saying toe, and I'm like, no, it's two, right? Two.
yeah, yeah.
Two was talking about it too, where he buys minnows at the beginning of the season, and then he'll only have to like buy minnows like twice because he's got the aerator stuff.
Oh, that's
Where
right.
to just keep them alive forever. And I also
Yeah.
heard from somebody else that you could just like feed them like goldfish flakes. Like
Oh,
you can
sure,
keep them
why
alive
wouldn't you
by
be
just
able to
feeding
do
them and
that?
stuff. I never even thought about that before. I always buy
Yeah.
like minnows and try to keep them alive as long as I can, and never once thought about actually feeding them, which makes sense why I never had them live like past like a week or two. Just like, oh yeah, I suppose they need to eat,
Oh,
huh?
well, yeah.
Whoops.
They probably don't have a lot of, yeah, they're small. Yep. You
Yeah.
probably should feed them.
Yep. so so I go into this bait shop and I'm looking for a bucket. And he's like, "Oh yeah, bunch of stuff. There's a bunch of bait, there's a bunch of buckets over on the wall." And I look and I go, "If I don't know if I'm not seeing them or what, but I don't see anything over here." And he goes, "Yeah, let me show you." And he comes over and he's just like, "There's no buckets here." I was like, "Yeah, that's kind of what I was hinting at." And then he's just like, "We had a bunch the other day. I can't believe there's none." And just like, "Yeah, I guess you guys sold about like. Do you remember selling a bunch?" I don't know. It like
It's
the
peak
way
ice
you're
season. Like, what do
the
you?
way you're dressed and the way you're acting, I feel like you should be the owner of this place. So you should know about inventory, but maybe you just only work every once in a while when you're stuck doing it. Cause dude had like a full winter coat on, but then like shorts and stuff. It was like super weird looking. So so I had to go get a bucket and I go to Target and I'm just like, whatever, just find whatever bucket I can. And I didn't want to spend a lot of money. So I found a mop bucket in like the cleaning
Yeah,
aisle. And
sure.
it's like, I don't know, it's like $5. I'm like, this will work perfect
Right.
for the day. I just need something to hold my bait in.
Hmm.
So I go back and I go, and meanwhile, I'm asking him, and he's like, "Oh, you could just put it in a bag." And I'm like, "Yeah, but I need to like access these minnows. Like, I can't really be digging in a bag out there. Like, how do I close it back up and stuff?" And he's like, "Oh, yeah,
Hmm.
good point." So clearly knows like I want minnows. I've already said something about fatheads. I come back and I was like, "Oh yeah, I got the bucket." And he's just like, "Yeah, a guy the other day came in here with a bunch of golden shiners." I was like, "Oh, do you okay?
Okay. And
Like, do you
he
have
shared that
shiners?" He's
with
like,
you
"Don't have any."
because.
Yeah, he's like, "Don't have any shiners," but he had a bunch. You know how hard those are to come by. And I mean, I offered to buy all of them, and he wouldn't sell any of them. I'm like, okay, that's crazy. So I'm just like,
Adding to the, like, this guy is the owner of the bait shop. This guy in his winter coat and his short shorts is
yeah,
probably the owner of the place. I swear we had a bunch of
yeah. And
buckets last
talking
week.
about some guy who
Fuck.
brought in a bunch of minnows, but didn't like wasn't selling them or buy. Who brings in minnows to a bait shop? Like,
I know. What the fuck
I'm
is
pretty
going on
sure this
here?
is all just weird bullshit. I think he might. I don't know if he was fucked up on something or hungover from the day before. Like, a lot of it seems super surreal. Like, what I don't know. So, so, so I come in with my bucket and I'm just like, all right, do you have shiners? And he's like, no. And I'm like, well, I'd take some fatheads. Then he's like, all right, yeah, scoops over there or whatever. And then he just like kept playing on his phone behind the desk, and I'm like, oh, this is weird. So I go over there. So I go over
You
there.
just stand there for 3 seconds, awkward 3 seconds, like,
Yeah.
wait, he's just looking at his phone. No, that's not the phone. He's not making a transaction.
You're right. No, he's just
He's playing Vegas slots right
yeah,
now.
he's just like,
Okay.
just go and do your thing, buddy. He didn't just like, okay, whatever, man. So I walk over there, and if you're not familiar, the the minnow tank has like a big net that you scoop
Mhm,
stuff out with, and
mhm.
then there's a little scoop that you kind of get a scoop out of it, and that's like what a scoop is. So it like fills up the scoop, and that's what the little scoop is a scoop of minnows. So when you say you want a scoop of minnows, it's like, I don't know, half cup of
Yeah,
minnows is what it
sure, yeah,
figures out
it's
to
the
me.
little scoop, not the giant, not the net.
Right.
Yeah.
So I go over there and I scoop it up, and it's like all sorts of weird shit. And it's like I'm trying to find like I've seen like a thing here or there of like weird minnows, but I don't know if this is just stuff that kept like cycling through and nobody was taking it and they don't do anything about it. But I like scoop it up and there's what I believe to be like a giant tadpole and and there's some other weird little fish that I've never seen, and then some other there was like a clear bullhead, and then like a
What
clear
the
like what looked like a tadpole, like it had a giant head and a little tiny tail, and I'm like, what the fuck is that? So, and I was struggling
How
to
does this
actually
come out
find
of a minnow
fatheads.
tank?
Like I'm trying to like push these other weird shit out of the way to try to like scoop out the fatheads. And then at that point, I'm just kind of guessing. Like I'm like, I don't know. I think I filled that up like a quarter of the way. Tried to scoop it again, and I just keep getting everything these weird things. And I bring it over to the thing, and I'm just like, all right. And he looks in the bucket, and then he goes, oh, you found some. I'm just like, what the fuck, man? I went to grab a bucket from a different store and everything, and you weren't even sure if you had any. Like you couldn't have gave me that heads up beforehand.
Right, right, right. He couldn't have been like, "Hey, I'm gonna
Yeah,
let you scoop them anyway. Why don't you go
yeah,
check and see if there's anything in the
yeah.
tanks?"
but then But then I'm just like, yeah, dude, I found some, like, along with the other stuff. Like, I just had to do my best to try to find some fatheads.
You
And
told
then
him
the
that?
yeah, I told him because I'm like, there's like a tadpole and some other fish in there. And he's like, really? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, that's crazy. You should have got that stuff. And I'm like, you don't even know about this? Like, you you don't know what's in the tank at all?
And again, it seems like
Uh,
this guy owns the place.
yeah, it seems like he owns the place. And then he just like there was a weird part too where like I'm walking over and I can't even remember exactly what it was about. But I say something and he just like and then he comes in here, fucking guy comes over, is fucking this and fuck shit bass and blah, blah, blah. And you're just like, I've just
What?
met you. Like this is crazy language that you're just like popping off like fuck this, fuck that. And you're like, I'm just like I is
I don't
any
even
of
know
this
you, dude.
real? Your minnow tank is full of random ass stuff. You have short shorts on and a jacket. You're just yelling profanity. You think you have a bunch of stuff and you have nothing. You're shocked when I actually find minnows. I just don't. And then I pay him with cash and he's just like, there's a, he started saying there's a transaction fee for anything. And then he sees the money on the counter. Like, but he's like staring at it as he's saying it. So he's like looking at my cash and he's like, there's a transaction fee for anything. And he gets that far and he just goes, oh, grabs the cash. just, just like, what the fuck? And then he just goes, good luck out there as I leave. And just like, all right, thanks. But just, oh,
It's
something.
like the most surreal thing. It's you gave us the rundown while we were fishing. You didn't get into all the detail because we were fishing, so your attention is focused on other things. It's even better hearing it the second time because you can't believe it's real. Like,
Dude, it was so awkward. And it's like a gas station, like bait shop deal
sure.
together. Oh, and he like when I came in initially, he was like just in the bathroom too. Like I was just walking around in
Oh,
the
that's
store.
right.
There's nobody there. I just like, hello? Did you guys just I walked around for a while, like looking for a bucket. And then I started walking around looking for a person. Like, is there somebody here? Do I what the fuck?
I thought he like greeted you and then peaced out.
Oh,
I
maybe
thought. I
that could
think.
be what it is. I think it might have been like he's just like, hey there, and I'm like, hey, and then like just disappeared. Like,
Yeah, you started
just,
looking around for buckets. You're like, okay, cool. I need a bucket. I think I
yeah.
should
Now
go
that you
get
say it, I think
one.
that is what it was.
And
Like
then
he said
he's just
hi, and
like,
then he disappeared.
and then you,
Yeah,
okay.
and I might have
So the
even
guy
had the
walked
order.
in and the guy left
Yeah,
the counter. What?
I think I might have had the order wrong too, because it was that's where it like started. I should have known right then before I even went and got the bucket, but I didn't know if there was another bait shop. But that was like when he came out, and I'm like, "You guys have a bucket?" And he's looking around. And he's like, "I don't know about a bucket." Guy came in with golden shiners, and I'm like, I think that was the point where he's just like, "Sweet, uh, you have a
I'm about to go
bucket?
on a wild ride right now.
Yeah, this is nuts. But how about a bucket though?" I that's pretty neat that a guy came in with some bait you don't have, and he wouldn't sell you. But I'm wondering if I could get some of the shit you do have. I should have said
If
it
you
like
even
that.
have it.
And then, yeah, I should have said it like that. And he would have been like, I'm not sure if I even have any. You know, I don't know.
He probably
Dude,
wouldn't have. He didn't. He would,
it was so
sure, it's in the back on the corner,
it
back
was so
wall over there.
surreal. Every other time, if people out there don't fish a lot and you're just curious, most of the time you go into a bait shop and you go, I'd like to get a scoop of minnows, and they go, okay. And they go fatheads or crappie, and you go fatheads or whatever you're getting. And they go, all right. And then they go and they give you your scoop, and then that's the end of it. That's
Pretty
all.
straightforward transaction.
Real straightforward. It's just like going into any like McDonald's and saying, "Can I get a cheeseburger?" And they go,
Right.
"Yep." And that's it.
And then you pay the money and they
And then
hand
you
you a
give them your
cheeseburger.
money, and
That's
then they give you a cheeseburger, and you walk away. They don't ever go, dude, the other day, guy came in here with a bunch of like Wagyu beef, and I wanted
tried
to
to buy
buy
it
some
from
of
him.
it from him to try to make some real crazy cheeseburgers. And they're like, oh, dang, did you get some? Nope. Do you have any regular cheeseburgers? Maybe. Dig around over there. There might be some along
Dig
the fish
around over
sandwiches and
there.
the chicken fingers, and you might find a cheeseburger.
Some mozzarella
Oh,
stick in there. They don't even sell mozzarella sticks.
right.
It's the equivalent of what happened. What the fuck?
Right.
Oh, you should have eaten that mozzarella stick. I didn't even know we had them.
Yeah. You should got I can't believe it. You found a mozzarella stick? Should have ate that, dude.
What the fuck? So let's get into the actual fishing because we haven't really talked about it. Well, you know what? Fuck it. Let's talk about the time that we did go out though, because we can skip past all the stuff. It was near end of season
Mhm.
for walleye. Like it was, you had done enough research where you,
It was the last day.
it was the last day of the walleye season.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and so the target was walleye,
Yes.
and you were marking them, and there was a lot of potential there.
Yes.
Spoiler alert: no walleyes, but that's not the
But
full story, is it,
yes.
Tim?
No, so we were moving around and stuff, and I'm trying, and I'm only using bigger baits because I'm trying to catch a walleye. And I'm seeing fish and stuff, and just nothing is having at it. And I'm trying bigger baits. I had your wife fishing with live bait and you fishing with live bait. So I thought
Oh,
one of us would get something.
yeah.
Oh, excuse me. This dang beer on a Thursday. We are crazy. But anyways, there we're out there, and yeah, just I'm seeing stuff and I'm not catching anything. And I don't know if it's because there's a lot of movement, that stuff was a little bit spooky or what was going on, but I couldn't get
Mhm.
a bite.
Mhm.
And then I did. But because I didn't get out fishing enough this winter
Yep.
and it happened, dude, I brain farted for whatever reason. I felt the tick and I was like thinking to myself, like, oh, let him take it. And I'm like, afterwards, I'm like, you don't let him take it. You feel that like there's nothing but hooks on this lure I'm using. You set the fucking hook. There's a hook in his mouth, and for sure,
Yeah.
like I'm the way it came up, the way it slowly was there, the way it ate it. I'm like 90% sure that that was a walleye.
Right.
That could have been the walleye on the last day. Set
Right.
and for whatever reason, I just went stupid, and then I waited for like 2 seconds and then set the hook. And dude, I replayed it in my head like a million times driving home, and I'm just like, "You set the hook when you feel the bite, fucking idiot! What are you doing, dude?" Just
I know. Yes, that's exactly why I wanted to talk about it is because it's on if you go to realaf.tv, remember Real Like Fish and Reel,
Yep.
we have right at the top of the page our 2022 fishing goals. Got them
Hmm.
split up between me and Tim. Tim has ice fishing for walleye specifically. And this is one of the reasons why I know because me and Tim have the same brain in a lot of senses where in a lot of ways where it's just like when given the time to think after something like that, you will just now that laugh is for the people who are watching on YouTube. Uh you will you'll do that in an effort to be better. You will meticulously analyze what you view as a mistake.
Yes.
For me, sometimes I get too hard on myself and I can drive myself into like a bad mood basically. I don't know if you get that far, but the
Oh
thing
yeah.
is like yeah, you can. Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
But the thing is like now that is going to make you better next year because of the way that happened, because of when it happened. Like you have this on your goals. Ice fishing set is done now. This goal can't be achieved. You really wanted it. Like there's just so many things that drove that moment where, dude, now you got it. It's locked in. And that is one of the things about Real AF TV. That's one of the things why we started Real AF TV, right? Is that like we talk about our failures and
For
we don't
sure.
failure seems like the wrong word even because it's a learning experience. Even though we can drive
100%.
ourselves crazy kind of with it, right?
Yeah. You learn way more from failing than you do from succeeding.
Yeah.
Like if you go out
Really
and you
good point.
did
Holy
something
shit.
cuz the next time, like if you go out there and you get on a hot bite and you might be like, I'm the greatest fisherman alive. Like everybody acts like this is hard, and you go out and you just kill it. You're just like, oh, nobody can touch me. I don't know. I don't know why anybody acts like this is hard. And then you go out and you fail, and that's when it's like real. You're like, God damn, I thought I was good at this. And it's like, well, no, you did real good that one day because everything was perfect.
Everything just
But
felt like just everything lined up.
dude, the people, if you don't fish a lot, you don't even know. There's some days where you can do everything right. You can be on
Mhm.
top of the fish. You can be like you called it. You're like, I know that they're going to be deep. I think they're going to be on this point. I think the way the wind's blowing, they're going to be set up here. You find them. You know exactly where they are.
Mhm.
And for whatever reason, you know that they're there and they're just not biting what you have. And you can't figure out whatever cadence it is, whatever they want that day.
Mhm.
Just and
Yep.
you just sometimes it's hard. Most of it and it really depends on the species. A lot of times with bass, you're able to figure it out, like get a couple in the boat. But the walleyes,
Mhm.
sometimes you can see them
Mhm.
on your graph and you can know that they're right there on the bottom. And it's just like a sleeping dog, man. It's just like it's not getting up for shit. Whatever that day, it's just like lazy Sunday. That thing is just like I am not chasing that ball. I don't care
Mhm.
if you throw it, dude. I'm not going after it. Throw that ball. Just
Right.
I'll watch it
I just
roll.
cool, now you gotta go get it, you dumb fuck. You
Yeah.
shouldn't have thrown the ball.
Yeah. But yeah, man, it stuff like that eats at me, and I definitely learn from my mistakes and I get better, but definitely that one was just like, that was your last chance. Now you got and now
It
it's like
stung extra just
it
because of the
stung
timing.
extra, and it even makes, like, waiting for the ice out even worse. 'Cause
Oh,
there's this
shit. Of
moment
course
of
it
just, like,
does.
there's this moment of, like, just, I need to get back out there and catch one to just be like, "I still know how to do it," you know? But,
You
like,
need to
right
set things
now
back in order in
yeah,
your brain.
right now, I'm sitting there just, like, waiting, like, watching the ice, like, nothing I can do now, and it's not like I
Right.
can go catch a walleye right now anyways, but just to go catch a fish would feel good, but when it's walleye
Yep.
opener, oh, I tell you what, if I catch a new personal best this year, that fish is gonna get a talking to. I tell you, I'm gonna lift it up and I'm just gonna be like, I know how to fucking catch you. Ju
He's gonna get an earful.
You're gonna get it, buddy."
Oh, you're the talking to that you're up for. You
Just
get ready.
get him in the net, just like, "Oh, you don't even know, mister."
So we haven't talked too much. I mean, we talked a decent amount with two on the podcast, but we haven't really caught up on your ice season. Like, what what did y'all get out and do this year? Because I only got out that one
Yeah.
time with you, and it was a good time. I mean, it was a gen fishing is always a good time.
Yeah, dude.
We were marking fish. We had nibbles. Right, there was just nothing on the
Yeah.
hooks, unfortunately. It was a good afternoon, though. Weather fucking couldn't have been better. It was
Right.
cold, of course, but, all in all, great time.
Yeah. Yeah.
But, like, that's it. That's a wrap. But what did
Yep.
you get up to?
So, I mean, that time and one other time. I
Well,
got
the
out
time that you
twice.
went up north to the cabin with,
Yeah, dude.
former coworkers, right?
Yeah, that's all I got out was 2 times this year because
Oh, man, I thought you
it
had
was a
more.
weird year where, like, with weather.
It was.
So what happened was either there was, like, stuff going on in my personal life where, like,
Mhm,
it just fishing is not an option this weekend, or, like, when I
mhm.
did get a chance to go fishing, like, conditions and everything were just shittier than they needed to be. Plus, I'm
Right.
still dealing with the no windows on my ice house thing. So there was
Oh,
a
right.
couple of days where it was supposed to be super windy, and I'm just like, that doesn't sound fun, like I just have open holes or darkness. So yeah, there was a lot of plans on, like, I wanted to go do this, and then, like, stuff just fell through, or plans happened to change.
Mhm,
I know one
mhm,
of the weekends, like, I'm like, "Oh, I'm gonna go fishing this weekend," like, for sure. Told my wife everything was set in
mhm.
place. Like, this is the weekend that I'm gonna go. It should be decent weather, all that good stuff. And then my grandpa passed away. And then it's like,
Shit, man.
oh, so
Yeah,
yeah, that's not going out that weekend and
right.
not
Yeah.
mad about it or nothing. I can't just be like, God damn it, grandpa. you know? But yeah, I mean, it's just like stuff like that. Obviously,
Right, right.
not all to that extent. It's not like every weekend I try to go out like another God damn another
Another
person
grandpa
died.
died. Yeah, right.
Just
But I mean, that was extreme, and sorry to hear about your grandpa, and it's not the first time, it's just on the podcast. Um,
right, right, right.
uh, but the weather this year, and so you said it, and this is my perception of it, was every other weekend this winter was shitty. And by shitty,
Yeah,
I mean, like, so fucking windy that even if the sun was out, there is no way you're gonna go out because the wind chill is like -13.
yeah.
No exaggeration.
Well, that and I don't have a snowmobile or four-wheeler. So a lot of
Mhm.
the lakes, like, you couldn't drive out on. Like the brand new, like, because
Mhm.
of that wind, like the drifts and everything. Like I kept looking at reports and people are like,
Yep.
"No, nobody's driving out unless you got like tracks." And you're like, "Okay,
Shit.
that's what happened even when we went up north to that weekend."
Really?
Like that was yeah, we went out on some plowed roads that they had done like that morning. They came and like replowed them because they drifted over and stuff again. And it's
Mm.
just, like
Fuck.
even when we went out, it was
Yeah.
still a little bit sketchy. There was pretty high snow drifts, and we tried to stick to the roads for the most part. And
But yeah, it was drifted up for sure. From the
yeah,
week before, the day before, whatever. The day we went out, it was really decent, but like
yeah,
the drifts were there. I mean, there's no
yeah.
doubt about that.
So it was just a kind of a rough year as far as like getting
Was.
out there went. So, which I'm not entirely mad at. I'm not like, oh dang it. I put together a lot of new
Yeah.
gear and stuff, which
Mhm.
is, I mean, that's almost as good to me as like fishing. It's something about like buying the new stuff and putting together
Well,
the new gear and everything. It's, I mean,
it's the long game, I think, right? Like,
yeah,
it's like
yeah,
because one of your goals on the fishing list was to get it you kinda snuck it in almost,
yeah,
so to say. If you go over to episode 35, right, you're gonna see our 22 fishing goals. You can hear our 2022 fishing goals. But you kinda I feel like, without having listened to the episode prior to this to prep, you, like, snuck it in. You're like, "I don't know. I got a good feeling. You this is what you were saying in the back of your head. I got a good feeling about my fantasy team again this year. Let's throw let's throw getting a camera on there. And you did. And that's the long game, right?
yep,
Is like
yep.
even if you didn't get out and
Well,
use it a ton this year, now you got it.
and I still plan on using it because here's the thing:
Oh yeah, yeah,
in the
yeah.
summer, I plan on trying to use that. I want to see if I can find a way to mount it to like a suction cup on the boat when I get to
Yeah.
some place, because mounting a GoPro underwater is like recording and then you just leave it recording and stuff, right?
Yeah, yeah,
I have a
yeah.
monitor up top and I mount that to like a suction cup or whatever,
Yeah,
and I
dude.
just turn it on when I need it. It should hold
Yeah.
on while I'm trolling around, and then I just have to release the fish on the right side or try to land the fish on that side and get some
Yeah.
cool underwater footage.
Hell
So I'm
yeah,
still
dude.
pumped on that purchase. Like there's some stuff that still went really good this year. Like I put
Sure.
together an arsenal of more rods and reels because last year was getting, I'm still super new at this ice fishing stuff. So last
Yep.
year was like
Yep.
getting a shelter, getting an auger, getting a, a flasher, like
Those things
all
that
the
actually go
essentials.
fishing.
Right, exactly. So all the essentials, but I had just kind of like a couple rod and reels, and then I bought like a decent one last year. I had like one decent setup that was nothing special. This
Mhm.
year, bought two new rod and reel setups that are far superior to any of the other ones I have. So now I have four that I feel super comfortable with that I have set
Oh
up,
yeah.
and then a camera that I can play with,
Yeah, dude.
and everything is really set up. And now this year I learned that like none of that means jack shit if you don't have a way to get out on the ice. And I'm like, "Duh."
Fuck,
Always, I've lived
dude.
in Minnesota, but I've never been one to like trail ride snowmobiles and like four wheelers. So I was always like, I
Sure.
don't really know, it doesn't seem to be much of a point. And then this year
Right.
comes along and I'm like, whoop, there it is. Totally get it now. Like,
Woo,
because
there it is.
yeah, yeah.
Woo,
Whoop,
there.
there was a couple of times last year where it was like, I'm not getting out there unless I have a I can't talk, a snowmobile or a four wheeler.
Yeah,
But then like the next day or like the next week, like stuff would blow off or it wouldn't be crazy snowy.
yeah,
And like paths would get kind of beaten down almost. Like the
sure,
snow that was there would get driven on and it would stay packed. But this
sure.
year it was like constantly drifting snow or new snow covering up the old paths. And I was just like, well, super new to this ice
Yeah,
fishing stuff. I'm sure
right,
other people have figured this out already, but
right.
it was another learning experience for me this year
Mhm.
where, without the means of getting out there, I might not get to go ice fishing that much. Plus,
Yeah, no, that's a
when my
really good.
son gets a little bit older, that'll
Oh,
be a
right,
different story too.
right, right, for sure.
I have a son who's
Yep.
about to be 4 years old, and every ice fishing excursion is basically me saying like, "All right, mom, you and the toddler stay home today."
Yeah,
So
I'm
that
in the
makes
same
it
boat.
tough
We're
too.
in the same boat over here on my side. We're in the same
Yeah,
boat.
right.
It's like,
Yep.
it's super hard to just be like, "Psh, it's on you now, later."
Right.
Like, that's what it feels for me.
Where at least in the summer, it's like we can all go in the boat, you know?
Right.
It
Mhm.
it's not as
Yep,
hard.
yep.
Just like everybody, let's go in the water, you know?
Right, yeah. No,
So
for sure, and I don't want it to make it I wanna pull this in a little bit because I don't want people to think, like, you're making excuses and stuff like that. It's like, you said it, you're learning from it. It's like, well, now you can look back at the compact thing and go like, "Oh, well, it's blowing and drifting and people have figured it out. Okay, well, I observed it a little bit, took in some knowledge." It's the, like, calculated planning sort of thing, right? Where it's like,
yes.
"Yeah, I didn't make maximum effort this year, but what I did do is watch, observed,
Yep.
right?
And
Took
learn
things in
stuff.
and then said
Yep.
like, "Hey, this would be better if I had a sled," or,
Yeah.
you know, shit like that.
Learn stuff of like I need to have a backup plan for these weekends where like if I can't get out onto these big lakes because it's shitty, go to a small lake where I can just walk out, you know?
Sure, yeah, yeah,
Like
mhm,
if the snow is deep, I'll trudge through some snow, but I'm not trying to
right.
get my truck stuck, you know?
Yeah, for sure, for sure. So what happened up north? I feel like we've danced around this for the winter season on the podcast. We've talked about it, but, like, what was the full story? I don't know that that's been
Yeah,
laid out.
so I went we rent a cabin, me and a bunch of friends, and like the friends are not ice fisher ladies. There's a
And this is
couple
up
of
north
guys.
Minnesota, right? Like, that's where we are?
Yes,
Yeah.
Ottertail. Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Big
That's what's
famous famous walleye lake.
Yep.
Um and we had a cabin on there. Last year we had a cabin and the snow was perfect and you could just drive out from the access by the cabin that we rented. And this year, the access on the side where we rented, nobody plowed anything out. It was too deep of snow to do anything. So the only option
Whoa.
was to drive to the other side of the lake. And it's a big lake. So it was like a good, like 12, 13-minute drive to get over there.
Yeah.
Which at that point, it's like just fishing like around St. Cloud where I live.
Right.
Like all the lakes around here are that kind of drive. So it's like,
Right.
well, now we're not even.
Like, damn
Part
it.
of the cool thing was to go set up the house and just leave it out there. And
Sure.
now I can't even, do that shit.
Right, because you don't wanna leave it that far away. It's just like
Right.
it's not a
Yeah.
permanent. You don't wanna
No,
just leave it
right.
that far away, but if it
Exactly.
was, like, 10 steps out the front door, you're like, "Ah, fuck it. It'll be there. It's fine.
Yeah.
It'll be fine."
Yeah. It was, it was a ways on the ice, but it was at least like we could see it. Like you would not be able to see it where we would have to set it up.
Right, yeah,
Like it would just
exactly.
be gone. So,
Yep.
um we ended up going out there and it like ended up being super windy too. Like
Shit.
the 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 one other guy we went with had he was kind of a new lady that these other people had made friends with, and
Mhm.
then her husband had came with. Super cool dude, and he had a pop-up like the sled where it like just pops up and it's got the two
Oh, yeah,
benches.
yeah, yeah.
So when they went out, he popped that up and he had two of the other people we were with fishing in that right away.
Nice.
And they kind of pussed out pretty fast. But by the time we
Even with the
got my
shelter?
yeah, but by the time we got mine actually set up, because we had to anchor it because the wind was so strong
Wow.
that it was trying to like fold in because mine's like a pop-up tent, right? So the wind's pushing in the
Yep.
sides and stuff as we're anchoring the bottom and anchoring the sides so the wind can't fold it in. By the
Fuck.
time we got all the anchors and stuff done, they were already ready to go back in.
Oh,
And we're like,
damn.
well, we're just starting. So but then I got to play around with the camera and stuff, and
Nice.
the guy we were with was kind of jigging around on there and caught a good sized walleye. It was 19-incher,
Nice.
so good fish. And then I saw a couple
Fuck
more
yeah.
walleye on the camera,
Okay.
but then I didn't know if the camera had spooked them or what because he caught that one right away, and then we couldn't get any more to bite, but I could see
Shit.
some. So I don't know, another learning curve. Maybe next time if I do that, I got to drill a hole farther away so they, aren't
Don't see
the
the camera
camera's
sort
not
of.
so close to them or what, but
Mhm.
and that was really the only time we got out because that was the you know
It
because
it was difficult, like, it was more
yeah,
difficult than the weekend anticipated. Again, the,
right,
like, not making excuses, having, uh, like, just, living in the moment, making choices in the moment, right? Because there's an expectation that is set,
yep,
and then that wasn't gonna happen, and then you had to go ahead and make a choice to get out on the ice, and it took this much more effort. So,
yeah,
fuck, you did it, you know?
yeah. We were out
I
there.
get
I
it,
mean,
I get it, man.
it
It
was
was,
the
like, not
whole
what you wanted to happen, not what you
yeah.
expected, so
I
shit.
felt I felt accomplished because it was like, we put the house down, we chose the spot, we drilled the holes, and the hole that was like 3 feet away from mine was the one that caught the walleye. So I'm like, all
Right,
right, well, we were for the most part, and we saw more. So we're like, for the most part, in the right area, at least
right,
on
right.
this lake we caught, we saw a couple
For
and
sure,
stuff.
for sure.
The population of walleye is pretty healthy on that lake. So it's like, that's another
Right.
one where it's like, did I learn a lot or are there just that many? So that's one of
Or
those
are
things
there
where you have a small sample size where you're just like, I
right,
did decent for the amount of time that we were out there. Could have done
right,
better,
right,
but was that as good as I could have done?
right.
Or was I like, catching a couple scragglers where if I would have been a little bit further over, we would have just had like a full bucket. I don't know.
Right, right, right,
This
for
the
sure.
sample size makes it hard. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
so that's I mean, and when we went out there, like again, not trying to make excuses, but because nobody else really fishes and stuff, we bring up our stuff to go fishing, but
Mhm.
it's more the draw of a getaway to a cabin that has a hot tub and we all like to cook and stuff.
Yep.
So we were making dishes and stuff for food. We plan all that stuff out. We're playing
Right.
board games and we're just having fun,
Yep.
and then it was also the the AFC NFC championship weekends. So the
Okay.
whole Sunday
Right.
was watching those two football
Was
games.
already planned out to just be football. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for
So
sure.
the
That's
a
why
lot of
fishing
stuff
needed to be as convenient as you expected it, and when it wasn't, it was
right.
like,
Yeah,
"Fuck,"
because when we
because it
like my
wasn't just about
yeah,
you going fishing.
exactly. My
You going
plan was
fishing was the, like, "Hey, kick
yep.
ass"
My
side
plan was
moment.
to initially get out there, set up the house, and then just have it there for whenever we wanted to go out. Like
Yeah.
doing some stuff. All right, board
Right.
games are a little bit boring. Anybody want to go
Right.
fishing for a couple hours?
Right. Yeah, yeah,
Instead of
like, it's
being like,
8:30, everybody else is just chilling out, and you're kinda like, "I don't know. This 6 beers feeling fucking good, and I still got 6 more."
yeah, because that's
That
another
ice house
thing,
is literally 12 minute like, a fucking 10 step not,
dude.
like,
Yeah,
it's just a few steps away. Like,
that's
I
one
won't even
thing I
finish a
was
beer
thinking.
by the time I get there.
Right, that's one thing I was thinking too. Like, we're gonna be drinking. It's gonna be like whatever. I know some of these people are gonna be a little bit like prudish because that's just how they roll, and it's
Yep.
gonna hit like 11 o'clock, and they're gonna be like, I want to go to bed. And I'm just gonna be like, all right, you go to bed. I'm gonna grab a couple of more beers and start walking out to that ice house.
Right.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
That was the hope, right, is that you would
yep,
just be in that mode, everyone would kinda be, "Okay, a few people are gonna drop off, and that means that the party's gonna die down, and they're gonna go watch Netflix, and
yep,
I got a stringer of Sixers, and that
yeah.
ice house ain't that far out there."
That's right. I got a
Yeah,
bottle
shit,
of
man.
Fireball that I'm gonna be taking pulls out of as I'm walking out there because like a schnapps type liquor on the ice for me is just that's where it's at because especially
Yeah.
like the cinnamon whiskey, like it feels hot.
Because it warms you up in the
When you're
cold.
cold, it just feels hot. It's like ooh, the taste of it and everything. Like I don't know, say what you want about Fireball whiskey. Maybe you don't like it, but I'm just like that's what I'm pulling when I'm on the ice because it just feels warm. Warms me up on the
Oh, yeah,
inside,
yeah.
warms me up in the mouth. It's just like
Warms you
mm,
up in the mouth.
warms me up in the mouth. You ever try to drink beer, like cold beer on the ice? That makes
It's
you just
cold.
colder. Like if you're in an
It's
ice house
cold.
and you have a heater, it's good. But if you're trying to drink cold beer on a cold ice and you don't have like a source of heat, like I start chilling myself out on the inside. It's bad
It gets
news.
cold. It gets fucking cold.
It
Yeah, man.
does.
Well, shit. So to go back a little bit on what I said before, maybe you do consider checking off your fishing for walleyes specifically on a lake because of that success.
I
Would you?
think
Do you?
I do consider it, yeah, because we
Good
did
deal.
go out twice. I had
Okay.
one. I considered that bite, like I said, 90% certain that that was a walleye, and we went out there in that one time, and like I said, the other guy caught a fish, and then I saw
Right.
it too.
Yeah.
So because those 2 times were both set out to go for walleye, and then from just my personal feelings on
Hmm.
that second one, I'm pretty
Hmm.
sure both times we actually like were in the right spot and just didn't
Right.
end up catching them.
Right.
I do feel accomplished in the fact like I have learned about
Yeah.
ice fishing a little bit.
Yeah. For
And
sure.
cuz both of these fish were a little bit away from where I would try in the summer. The when we were on Lake Waconia, whoops, I don't know. It's okay.
No, that's
I
fine.
wasn't trying to say that second one just because that one's more popular lake, but whatever. I missed one fish. Oh, is everybody super excited to go out there? No. That's all we did
All
that
10
day,
of you
right?
listeners, thanks for listening. We
Yeah.
appreciate you.
But yeah, I went out there and I tried, and I for the most part I think we were on the fish. Now I just have to
Yeah.
try to hone in the skills. So
Hmm.
I did accomplish the goal of going out there and trying to figure some stuff out and thinking, I am on the fish. Now
Hmm.
I just have
Hmm.
to hone in those skills like everything else
Yeah.
and figure out a way to get out there more efficiently and just hope that it's not crazy snowy next year.
Right. Yeah, and I guess I put too much on that because the goal is specifically ice fishing for walleye. I shouldn't say specifically before I say that because it's in the goal. It's written down as ice fishing for walleye specifically.
Yeah.
I put on that goal. I put it on there in this conversation that meant catch something. It doesn't
Yeah.
necessarily mean that.
No,
Like you kept
not
saying,
really.
learn something about it. Like got out there
Yeah.
and did it. Like
Yeah. Sometimes if I know that I'm just around the fish, that's enough. And if I didn't catch them, now at least I know they were there. Now I just need to figure out how to make them bite.
right.
A big part of it is figuring out where the fish are. So I'll say it right now. Goal for next season, I'm putting multiple through the ice as long as I can get out there again.
Nice.
But if I can get
Yeah.
out there, yeah, goal for next season is to go out and catch
Hell yeah.
a
Yeah.
multiple. I wanna catch some walleye and have me a fish fry. I
Yeah,
don't need
dude.
a lot of them because
A winter fish fry,
a
right?
winter fish fry. Yeah,
Yeah. Fuck yeah, dude.
from fish that I caught in the winter, not a
Right,
winter
not
fish
frozen
fry
ones
from like
from
frozen.
summer. I got you. I got you. Oh, kick ass, man. What a great way to end our fishing topic. Just getting that recap in. It was it was great. I love that you just like ended our fishing topic for this year with a next year goal already. And maybe we'll just that makes me think like maybe that's how we're going to do our like New Year's. Cuz I like that. I like this follow along. Hey, if you're, just hit us go over to Twitters and the Facebooks and all that stuff, we're on it, and just it'll, you know, I have the link to realaf.tv. Just go to realaf.tv and check out our goals. We're keeping them on there. We keep doing the podcast to do like check-ins, right? We're gonna keep checking in on them on the podcast, and just like
Hmm.
I love that you just end this like ice fishing recap with like, yeah, man, that one's checked off the list, but check this out.
Right.
That's great, dude.
Yep. Got to set them goals already.
Oh, for real.
It would have been nice to be like the goal was to go fishing for them, and the goal check, side mission check, caught a fish. Side mission was not accomplished. Next year it becomes the main mission.
Fuck yeah. Well put,
Yeah.
dude. Well put. Let's get into the second half where we're just going to talk about beer. But you better be
Yeah.
ready for some research and shit like that, because of course I did research and stuff because I'm curious as fuck, man.
Yeah, about beer.
Beers, 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 beers. Break.